Governing Board public meeting tonight on the business of the Normandy Schools Collaborative. We're very excited about this evening. We're thankful for everyone who has joined us here today in person and those who have joined us here virtually. The first thing we want to do this evening is uh, item 1.01, which is to establish a quorum here this evening. Would you do us the honor, please, Ms. Rigsby?
Yes, sir. President Hodge,
Present.
Vice President Humphrey,
Present.
Secretary Taylor,
Present.
Director Edwards,
Present.
Director Pearson,
Present.
Director Milton Roberts, Director Dr. Petty.
We do have a quorum, so we would like everyone to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance at this time. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving on to item 2.01, our board norms, which we would like for Director Pearson to read as a reminder of how we conduct ourselves during this meeting. Director Pearson, would you please share the board norms?
Good evening, everyone. We use facts and data to inform our decisions in accordance with the interests of the overall district as a whole and not any particular segment thereof. We will support the delegation of authority of the superintendent in the day-to-day district operations and act in accordance with the 6 governing documents. We support the board's decision. We come to the board meetings informed and prepared. We honor our elected roles by being in attendance. We will honor all voices by encouraging individual inputs and listening to others.
Thank you, Director Pearson. Moving to item 3.01, the approval of the agenda. All of our board members have been supplied with this agenda in advance with their board packets. So I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda at this time.
So moved.
I'm sorry. There is one request to remove an item from the agenda. I will entertain a motion to remove item 6.01. There's a presentation. I'm sorry, 6.02. There's a presentation that we would like to postpone on iReady for tonight. I would entertain a motion to eliminate item 6.02, the beginning of the year iReady data.
So moved.
It's been moved by Director Pearson. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Director Edwards. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. With that adjustment to our agenda, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
It's been moved by Secretary Taylor and seconded by Director Pearson, I think that was.
Yes.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, thank you so much. The agenda has been approved. At this point, I'm going to ask Norm to take the mic. We're going to move into item 4.01, public comments. Norm, I don't know if your microphone is on.
There it is.
Perfect.
Got me? Mr. President, members of the board, superintendent, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to thank you for attending tonight's Normandy Schools Collaborative Board of Education meeting. But before we begin, we will review the importance of conducting a productive and orderly meeting. For those community members in attendance who have signed up for public comments, please come to the podium when the board president calls your name. Out of respect for everyone in attendance, yelling, foul language, props, visuals, and addressing the audience are not permitted. Public speakers may not identify staff or students by name. In addition, Audience members are not allowed to speak, yell, or cause any disruption during public comments. This ensures the Board of Education is able to listen and transition to the next speaker. The remainder of the meeting is designated for the board to work with the superintendent and staff to conduct the work as outlined in the agenda. Patrons who stay in attendance for the remainder of the meeting after public comments do so in an observatory role. Please note that those who disrupt the meeting in any capacity will be asked to leave and may lose the opportunity to attend future meetings. We want to thank you again for attending, and we will now proceed with the agenda.
President Hodge, no public comments were submitted.
Okay, thank you so much. We hold this space for our public to engage and to be a part of this public meeting through your comments. You are welcome to submit those comments and to have your voice be a part of this important governing process on these meetings. So there are no comments tonight, but you're welcome to do so at our January meeting. Thank you. Moving on to item 5.01, public recognitions. Chris, thank you.
Good evening, Board President Hodge, Superintendent Triplett, members of the board. At this time, we want to invite Mr. Julius B. Anthony up to the front. As many of you were aware this evening, this morning, we had the second Believe Project ribbon cutting of the year at Washington Elementary. This is the third school in the district to have the Believe Project Literacy Lab, and it's an initiative of the St. Louis Black Authors of Children's Literature organization. This project is dedicated to improving reading proficiency in elementary students. And so we'd like to take a moment to recognize Mr. Anthony. We also want to take this opportunity to recognize Dr. Pamela Hollins, who is the president of Washington Elementary. She was not able to make it today, so Dwayne West was able to step in her place. We also want to take this opportunity to recognize Dr. Tonio Brooks, who helped immensely in this project. So this is the third literacy lab for Normandy schools following the successful launch at Barack Obama in 2022 and again at Belnor in October of this year. So we want to thank Mr. Anthony.
Can we invite Mr. Anthony to the podium for just a moment? We do want to give you an opportunity to speak briefly about why Normandy Schools Collaborative has been targeted as an opportunity for these Believe Labs. One of the things that I was wondering about, we now have 3 Believe Labs in our district, and I don't know is there any other district that has more Believe Labs so far than us?
The school district of University City.
Okay,
You
good.
have the same amount.
We do intend to surpass them.
You will in the spring.
We're very thankful. Please take 2 minutes to help us understand.
Absolutely. First, let me say thank you, President Hodge. Thank you, Superintendent Triplett, and the entire board. On behalf of St. Louis Black Authors of Children's Literature, as well as Community Impact Network, we just want to say thank you for allowing us into the school district to do this powerful work. The Believe Projects essentially is an opportunity to really work on third grade reading success. We know that that is the marker that determines a child's success in school as well as their success in life. This project is uniquely designed to ensure that kids have a culturally responsive connection to literacy and that there is an affective approach to learning. We know that most school districts are really good about the science of reading and having a good explicit approach to learning how to read. our support to you and your district is making sure that there is an affective approach. And what we mean by that is a social, emotional, relationship building approach that has a culturally responsive connection to it. And so we want children to have access to all types of books and to bring in authors into the district so that children will have access to those authors in a way that they never have before.
Great.
So essentially, that's our work.
Thank you so much. And we've been celebrating that third lab opening at Washington Elementary all day. And so we'd like to close out this day with a picture and an additional thank you to Mr. Julius B. Anthony and his team for that dedication. Can we all join in a round of applause at this time? I think you have something to present to us.
Yes, we have, as is our tradition, is to present a plaque of the digital announcement to the entire board. So if you will allow us to bring that to you now.
And we're going to ask all of the board members to please come forward. Please let the record show that Dr. Petty has joined the meeting this evening. So if we can all come up front for a picture. Thank you.
Belief is a big part of what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony. Chris, we have other um, public recognitions.
We do. And I'd like to mention also that the recognition that we just had was for CSIP number 3, which is community and parent involvement. Definitely a big community involvement. The next recognition is for CSIP number 2, which is personnel. So it's Normandy Schools Collaborative's honor to announce that our superintendent of schools, Dr. Michael Triplett, is featured in the 14th edition of Millennium, a marquee Who's Who magazine, which celebrates his remarkable career and unwavering dedication to shaping the minds of the next generation. Since its founding in 1898, Marquee Who's Who has been the premier source of biographical insights on influential leaders across a wide range of fields. With over 120 years of tradition, it continues to recognize professionals who make a lasting impact on their communities and industries. Dr. Triplett's feature reflects his exceptional contributions to education and his inspiring leadership. We want to recognize Dr. Triplett. Yeah.
Dr. Triplett, we don't want anyone to shine us in shining a light on you and our gratitude and appreciation for you and the work you do for our district. And so we have a special presentation we'd like to make to you tonight, and it is a recognition of your service to this district. We also wanted to show our gratitude to Dr. Anthony. Is he's still with us? Dr. Anthony, on behalf of the Normandy Schools Collaborative, we'd like to present you with this certificate of appreciation for your dedication to our district. I've held my tongue for a long time, but I'm going to let the cat out the bag. Dr. Anthony has been my mentor for over 20 years now. He has guided most of my thinking around education, and in particular, the importance of literacy and teaching our babies to read. And so I think the world of this gentleman, and I appreciate his commitment to our district and to each of us individually. So thank you. Can we give him another round of applause? Great. So if that concludes our recognitions, I'd like to move to item 6.01. There's a special presentation on our gifted and talented programs tonight.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Taylor. To the Board of Education, President Hodge, and our Superintendent, Dr. Triplett, we're pleased to announce that under the leadership of our Superintendent and Dr. McConnell, we're actively working to restore our gifted and talented education program here in Normandy School District. It's associated and tied to student achievement. A significant initial step has taken place with the establishment of the Gifted and Talented Advisory Committee, which is charged with looking at the DESE guidelines with the gifted and talented education in the state, looking at best practices, implementation strategies, and delivery models throughout the state. This committee would examine those initiatives and put in place our gifted and talented program here in Normandy. We held our first meeting in October. Our second meeting is scheduled for this Friday, December the 13th. I'll be glad to take any questions you may have about the program itself.
Thank you so much, Dr. Taylor. I will entertain any questions from the board at this time. Director Edwards.
The time and date.
Yes, we had our first meeting in October, and we're having our second meeting this Friday, December the 13th.
Is that open to the public?
We haven't invited the public, but you're certainly welcome to come. Certainly welcome.
Right. This is very exciting news. We have several gifted and talented students in the district, and we know that they need just as much extra love, care, and attention as all of our special students do. So we're excited about that opportunity. If there are no more questions, yes.
Yeah, I know that the committee is currently working, but when do you anticipate having a comprehensive overview of what the program will be, so you can come back and make that presentation?
Absolutely. We're shaping up all the frameworks now. We should get more information and putting more of that package together. Again, we're looking at the guidelines from DESE, and that we're going to follow those explicitly. So it'll be a recanting of what DESE has put in place for implementation of this program. But certainly, I'd be glad to do that. Invite me back. I'd be glad to give you an overview.
So do you anticipate that'll be sometime during the first quarter of next year? Sometime in that period?
January, February, in terms of the overview.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Taylor, how will this impact our APR scores once established, and how does it move us closer to full accreditation?
Well, certainly those students working at proficient level will impact our MPI, Missouri Performance Index number. It certainly should do that. And it get us closer to challenging our kids that we know can go beyond the extra mile. Those kids that are performing on proficient and advanced levels, we want to maintain those strides for those students. And I believe this program will help us do that. So overall, it's going to have an impact for those students that are ready to do way and beyond what we're asking to do in the classroom, and certainly help our MPI and our APR in the district.
Great, thank you. One last time, any other questions? Thank you so much. We appreciate your presentation.
Thank you all.
Moving on to item 6.03, the Normandy Early Learning Center. Dr. Payne, we're happy to hear from you this evening.
Thank you. Good evening, Joint Executive Board, Superintendent Dr. Triplett, esteemed colleagues, and valued community members. It is an honor to be here this evening to share updates and highlights from the Early Learning Center. So for the current school year, our projected enrollment was 415. Right now, we're sitting at 420, and we have 10 kindergartners starting next week. I don't know where all of them are coming from, but they're coming. So our enrollment changes almost daily, but right now we have 420. This current school year, right now, we have 212 female students, 208 male students, 350 African American, 36 Hispanic, 6 Caucasian, and 11 others. We have 350 of our students in our general ed program, and 70 of our students are in our special ed program stemming from preschool and kindergarten. And again, we have 36 English language learners total from preschool and kindergarten. So at the time when I made this report, in November, our attendance was right at 96%. This time last year, we were at 88%, and the year before that, we were 81%. So our attendance goal this year is by the end of the 24-25 school year, Normandy Early Learning Center student 90-90 attendance rate will increase from 90% to 95% by the end of the school year, as evidenced by Power School, which is a 5% difference from last school year. With our disciplinary infractions, so far this year, we've only had one for the month of November. This is in the kindergarten classroom, but this time last year, we was also at one incident as well, but we currently do not have any out-of-school suspensions or bus suspensions. So our discipline goal for the current school year is by the end of the 24-25 school year, Normandy Early Learning Center, out-of-school suspensions will not exceed by 5% of its enrollment. And so far, we're doing a great job of meeting that goal. And this is what I'm really most excited about. With our ready data, last school year in the fall, at the beginning of the year, we only had 9% of our kindergartners that were kindergarten ready and performing at level. As you know, at the end of last school year, we ended the year with 70% of our kindergartners that left us reading on or above grade level. And this current school year in the fall, when we took our ready assessment, right now we have 19% of our kindergartners performing at or above a kindergarten level. So our reading goal for the current school year is 80%. In math in the fall, last school year, we had 6% of our students on or above grade level. At the end of the school year, we were at about 54%. And this past fall, right now, our kindergartners are at 14%. So our goal for math for the current school year is 70%. With preschool, we take the STAR early literacy. So in the fall last school year, we were at 41%. As you can see, for the current school year in the fall, we're right at 70%. So our goal for ELA and math, honestly, is 100% for preschool. I already know we're going to meet that goal because right now in math, we're at 72%. And when we come back from Christmas break, we'll be doing our second assessment. But I'm very confident that my preschool and kindergarten, well, our preschool and kindergarten team will surpass their goals. So the big overall academic goal that we have for the year is by the end of the 24-25 academic year, 100% of our professional learning communities at our school will follow a targeted monthly cycle aimed at improving student outcomes. So basically this school year, we reframed how we do our PLC meetings because we meet once a week, but every week has a targeted theme. So this cycle will include week one is just like our general meeting. Week two, we do a deep dive into our data analysis. Week three, we focus on our high yielding strategies. And week four, we do peer observations. So, what this looks like, my preschool teachers observe in a kindergarten classroom, and my kindergarten teachers observe in a preschool classroom because I'm still trying to bridge the gap with my preschool and kindergarten team to basically eliminate us working in silos because we're together but we're separate. And so the peer observations has really helped this current school year, and it's something that the staff really enjoy. And with our academics, again with kindergarten, our reading goal is to increase from 70% to 80%. And in preschool, our goal for ELA and math is 100%. Questions, comments?
We're very excited about, yes, that does deserve a round of applause. We're really excited. Thank you for sharing this information. These presentations from our schools are really important for us to understand and get insight to what is happening on the ground with our children. So we're excited. I will entertain any questions at this time. Yes, Teresa Pearson.
Good evening. Thank you for your presentation, Dr. Payne.
Greetings.
What is the ranking of the Early Learning Center in
I,
Missouri at this
I, I knew you were going to ask. Right now, Normandy Early Learning Center, we're ranked number 3 in the state of Missouri.
All right.
So we're in the top 3 top quality early childhood.
Thank you. That is my only question.
Yes, ma'am.
Other questions? Is that Director Edwards? I'm sorry, I can't see very well. Yes.
Good evening, Dr. Payne. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I have kind of a double question. How are parents being educated about the attendance related risk factors and their impact on academic success? And also, is this a proactive approach you're taking or a reactive approach?
To address the first question with the attendance, we take attendance very seriously at our school. And even though with the switch to Power School, it did kind of present some challenges in the beginning of the year, but we didn't let that stop us. We do attendance phone calls every single day with our families. We meet with our targeted families, and we're just constantly having those conversations. And we're just constantly reminding I mean, not the teachers, the parents on why their kid being in school is very important, even at the preschool level, because, we constantly use our data to show that when your child is here, they're constantly learning. And when they're not, you're just disrupting their learning system. So we're always having those conversations with parents to just reiterate the importance of getting their child there. And to your second question is definitely proactive, not reactive, because I personally, like I just wanted to do something very innovative at the Early Learning Center. And I wanted to prove and show that, yes, I know we have this targeted curriculum that we use, but we just do things different in my classroom because in early childhood and preschool and kindergarten, we can't expect to just have the traditional way of learning because that's not what's helping. And what's going on in my preschool classrooms is definitely showing that when you have a more project construct approach, you will get these type of results. And so that's what we do even in my kindergarten classrooms. And one thing that we did was we took the curriculum that we have and with our lesson planning and things of that nature, we still are using the same lesson plans for magnetic reading and with reveal math. We just made it our own with making it more project construct based so our kids can have more targeted learning centers in the kindergarten classroom because that's where the disconnect happens at the Early Learning Center. And first and second quarter are always hard for my preschoolers that transition to kindergarten because they just left such an environment where it was very engaging. They had more opportunities with student voice choice, and we had very targeted learning academic centers. But we noticed that changed in kindergarten because the educational demands changed, and it's like we wanted the kids to sit more whole group instruction. So over the summer, my guiding coalition team, that was something that we really honed in on and was like, how can we mimic our kindergarten classrooms like our preschool classrooms? So that's something that we did over the summer and that we're currently doing right now. And it's really making a difference because the kids are more engaged and more involved in the lessons because we now have more rotating targeted learning centers. So I definitely attribute that change to the current success that we're seeing right now.
Thank you so much. For the sake of time, we'll entertain one more question if we have. If not, we want to thank you again, Dr. Payne, for the
Thank you.
wonderful work that you and your team are doing. And to help us celebrate, can we give Dr. Payne and his team one more round of applause?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to move on to item 6.04, attendance update as of December 10th, 2024. Dr. Brooks.
Which one's? 6.4.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening,
Good evening.
Dr. Triplett, President Hodge, and board members. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk about attendance. The latest update for Normandy Schools Collaborative Enrollment. Our strategic priority that we're focusing on is 4, which is impactful partnerships. To strengthen family and community partnerships through tighter coordination and alignment to strategic priorities. At the time of creating this PowerPoint, we had 2,818 students, but as you all know, as Dr. Payne alluded to, that number may change daily. Regarding the attendance percentages, monthly attendance percentages, our attendance is growing in the right direction. And we are close to reaching our 90-90, but the point is not to reach it, but to maintain it over time. Strategies to improve attendance, as you see in the PowerPoint that you have, these are just a few of the strategies that we employ to improve attendance. Additionally, we have new strategies that we consider every day, and this helps us just really jump the hurdles that attendance issues we have in the school. The role of the parent engagement and community involvement specialist. As you all know, you all recently hired or approved the interim specialist, who is Mr. Parker. Where are you, Mr. Parker?
Right.
Mr. Parker has done a great job in his short time in this interim role. He attends all FEL meetings at Beyond Housing. In addition to, he attends all attendance meetings that we have at the school. He also joins with administrators, building level administrators, as far as problem solving with barriers that get in the way of students, and not just attendance, but he is an all-around resource to help parents, again, get barriers out of the way of getting students in school. That's all that I have. Any questions?
Great. Thank you for this presentation. We have the benefit of having that PowerPoint here. We apologize to the public for not having that available for them to see, but they can access it through board docs. At this time, we will entertain any questions for Dr. Brooks. I think I saw Director Pearson's hand first.
Good evening, Dr. Brooks.
Good
How
evening.
you doing?
Pretty good.
How many truancy cases have you all counted in the district?
Say that again.
How many truancy cases?
Well, regarding truancy, we have students that have excessive attendance issues. What we do, we have a care team at the school. I don't know the exact number, but I do know every school has a care team, and we try to tackle those issues. So the number hasn't been significant because, again, we're close to our 90/90, but as those issues come up, we deal with them. But luckily at this point, we don't have many. A bigger issue is just having students who are transient from one district to another, and us being able to find out that they're no longer our students, which helps us clean up data when we know they're gone.
Okay. And then my next question is, are you seeing an upkeep or an uproar of parent engagement, family engagement with the fails in the schools?
We are. We're working hard with the fellows to ensure that they do everything they possibly can to not just again meet with parents, but also be able to help problem solve and get issues out of the way. So so fellows are really stepping up and again working directly with Mr. Parker in resolving any issues.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Director Edwards.
Good evening, Mr. Brooks.
Good evening, Ms. Edwards.
Brooks. Yes, Dr. Brooks. I know that our goal is the 90/90 attendance. What resources or support will be offered to our parents to understand the importance of this goal and how their contribution of achieving it assists with accreditation efforts?
Well, right now we're working with Beyond Housing, specifically Ms. Carrie Collins. She and I have been working on creating different uh, uh, events in the evening to help parents get out and come see what the expectations are. Every FEL, they host different events, and some of them are focusing on attendance at the school level. But again, this partnership that we have with Beyond Housing is making the biggest difference in us being able to reach out to parents and let them know what the importance of attendance is in the buildings.
Great, thank you. Director Petty.
Good evening, sir.
I don't think your microphone is on, Director Petty.
Good evening, Dr. Brooks.
Good evening, sir.
You mentioned that you said we are close to reaching our 90/90 goal. And my question would be, are you referring to a district-wide 90/90 goal? And what do you mean by close to it?
Okay, great question. When I say 90/90, a 90/90 goal is we want 90%, at least 90% of our students in the classroom 90% of the time that we're open in buildings. So when we look at Power School, it helps us calculate exactly the number of students that we're having in class every day. And we want to make sure to help combat some of these issues that we may have had regarding data collection, that we have all tools necessary to ensure that the data that we have is the right data. So
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just wondering what's the current percentage in terms of progressing towards the 90/90 goal?
at the time of this, the creation of this PowerPoint, it was about 88%.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And to clarify, that 88% represents the average across the entire district in all of the schools. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes, sir.
Great, thank you. Good. Any other questions? Being none, thank you so much for this presentation. We're going to keep moving forward through our agenda. Thank you, Dr. Brooks. Now, item 6.05 KI, our December Prop V update.
Hey, greetings, Normandy Schools Collaborative Board of Education, and Dr. Triplett and Normandy community. Really appreciate this time. Hope you all are staying warm as we are moving through this holiday season. Wanted to give you a brief update on our Prop V update on the facilities. Normally, we have our construction management partner, Jossie Haynes. He would be presenting, but he's out of town today. And so I get to do the honors of doing so. So this is a strategic priority number one, engaging environments, by the way. Jossie has commented on our process of looking through the specific cost, and there's been a lot of focus on ensuring that this programming, this construction programming, really comes in cost-wise and that gives us the deliverable, the product that we really want as a school district and we deserve. So current completion dates, Bell Ridge, our bus lot improvement initiative is slated to be completed during the third quarter of 2025. Ms. Days and her group will be involved in that process along with Mr. Haynes and our construction management team, in addition to all of the contractors that will be involved in that process. The boardroom at the Campus Support Center is moving along. I'm sure you all have had a chance to step by and see that. I know many of us in the building, we've been having to, get used to the pounding and the noise, but it's so good to see that product coming, to fruition. Additional facility support. We've got the end of the fourth quarter with regard to the Viking Hall cosmetic updates, in addition to the new track with concession stand updates that are going to be put in, and then the new turf football field that's going to be put in as well. I do want to mention, strategic priority number one, engaging environments. This is really crucial. Sometimes people look at things like tracks or Viking Hall facilities, those types of things, as deterring from the educational product, and yet they're crucial in inspiring students to be dedicated to their studies and to grow. So we're excited about these things that we've got going on. These are some of the sites. If you, again, were stopping by the boardroom, you would see this going on with both the exterior of the building in addition to the inside, the guts of the building. And so that pretty much wraps up that. We talked about costs and about funds that are available to support the construction. You, the board, of course, have supported the $6.5 million ESSER funds that are being dedicated largely to some of these projects. And so we're excited about moving forward with this. Without any further ado, I'd entertain questions at this time.
Thank you. Questions? Director Edwards.
Good evening, Mr. Brooks.
Good evening, Ms. Edwards.
I do have one question, and maybe you can answer or not, but has there been any change orders associated with the boardroom construction?
Great question. No, we have not had any change orders at this time. We really have been trying to manage having any type of change orders with regard to this product.
Great. Other questions? If there are no questions, thank you so much for your presentation. We will now move on to item 6.06, October, our financial report. Mr. Brooks, I think we're going to hear from you again.
Yeah, you all get to put up with me a little bit tonight.
That's great.
Our financial position is strong, remains strong. Year to date, actually through October 31st of this year, we have generated or received $22.7 million in revenues to go along with $19.0 million in related expenditures. So our fund reserves are strong, coming in roughly, we've got like 43.90% fund reserves overall in all of our district funds, which is a pretty strong financial position. Revenues are coming in largely, of course, we had the $6.5 million in ESSER funds coming in, but we are trending well with regard to our delinquent taxes and basic formula monies as well. On the expenditure side, of course, our biggest expenditure would be compensation to personnel, that being salaries and benefits. And so we are, of course, trending just fine. We have year-to-date revenues, again, expenditures coming in. We had paid salaries and wages of about $2.1 million during the month or year-to-date and during the month of October, benefits of about $623,000. In our basically what we call our operating reserve funds, that is a strong number coming in at roughly 32.96%. As we've communicated in the past, the state demands and requires that we have a 3% fund reserve balance in our operating funds, and we're at 32.96, or roughly really 10 times that level. So that is a strong financial position. We've got just under $17 million banked or saved in our fund reserves for our operating funds. This is a synopsis of what I've just described. We have revenues trending at $22.7 million year to date, expenditures at $19 million. That's resulted in a boost in our ending fund reserves at just under $30 million of overall savings at this point. And again, our overall fund balance reserve is at 43.9%, with the operating fund balance reserve at 32.96%. couple of additional things that we are working on. The business office continues to work with our external auditors. We are working with Daniel Jones and Associates CPAs, and as we are wrapping up. And actually, we have a couple of minutes to talk about that, to update you on that process a little bit later during our board meeting this evening. We continue to work with our HR department to resolve any associated health related issues with regard to our transition and migration to the Cigna healthcare plan. And you'll hear from our representatives a little bit later in the board meeting on that as well. And then we continue to work with Highland Fleet as we are purchasing 15 new electric buses, and we're going to be constructing the new bus depot at Bell Ridge, and so that's exciting. And then we will be going into a budgetary season here shortly in January and February as we prepare and as we develop the budget for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. And that pretty much ends it for the financial presentation to you, the board, this evening. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? Director Pearson.
Good evening, Mr. Brooks. Thank you for your presentation.
Can you please speak into your microphone?
Good evening, Mr. Brooks. Thank you for your presentation.
You're welcome.
Again, I ask this every board meeting, but I'm going to write it down this time. What is the state's required for the fund reserve?
Fund reserve for the operating fund is 3%. And again, we're at 32.96%, roughly just under 33%. So that's pretty strong. That's more than 10 times the required level.
And we are looking to have an increase due to the taxes for the end of the year.
That's correct. So in November, we will see a slight decline or drop, but then we're going to see a boost back up in the months of December and January. As you've mentioned, Ms. Pearson, we'll begin to receive the bulk of our property tax assessment revenues. Those trickle in largely in December and in January.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Great. Additional questions? Director Petty.
Good evening, Dr. Brooks. How you doing?
I'm fine, sir. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. Listen, you mentioned this boost that we're going to receive based on property taxes. Would you say that that boost is a significant or insignificant increase or boost to the fund balance? And do you know what percentage of the district funds comes from property taxes?
Okay. Well, roughly our local tax revenues generate about 30% of our overall revenues that come in, plus or minus a percentage. I will say this, we have some growth that I have communicated to the board and to the community over the last year, but we had assessed valuations grow by 24% over the last year, an additional 2% just this past year. So it's roughly about 26% growth in our assessed valuations over the last 2-year period of time. So the increase, the impact of that assessed valuation is going to be seen on these revenues that are going to be coming in. I'm not exactly sure what those numbers look like until the money's actually come in, but it's a positive, movement.
But at a percentage of 30%, it is a significant part of the district's operating
Yes, sir.
funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Being none, thank you so much, Mr. Brooks, for this presentation, and we appreciate your stewardship. Item 6.07, MSEP 6 scorecard for the 23-20 and 24 year. Dr. Triplett is going to walk us through some very important information this evening.
Good evening, board members and community members. So today we'll do some brief overview of the district's performance as it relates to MSIP 6. I always start my presentations out with making sure that our mission lives in the community and in the district. So you'll always see a presentation from me. The second slide will always be our mission. Okay, so MSIP 6 and the APR, the Missouri School Improvement Program, which is MSIP 6, outlines expectations for schools, practices, and student outcomes. It supports the statewide goal that each student graduates ready for success in college, career, life, and beyond. And it produces an APR for each local education agency or LEA and building. The purpose, the APR indicates progress of the Missouri students schools and LEAs toward standards adopted by the State Board of Education. I don't know how this didn't save. Um, it is produced for all students, all school districts and charter LEAs. Is used in the process that clarified school districts. It's required for renewal decisions made by charter sponsors, and one of the many ways the parents and communities evaluate LEAs. Now, this is how the percentages are assigned to the different areas on in the performance. We have achievement status, achievement growth, success ready, graduation rates, follow up, and then there's a subtotal. That total equals 70%. Now, the interesting thing about this total is that when we look at these scores, you see this 24 and this 24, we only receive 48% of our MSIP 6 points from performance. So this has to be somewhat strong. All of the other things are things that we can somewhat control more than we can performance. And I'll touch bases on that a little later. With continuous improvement points, you see improvement planning, success ready. That subtotal is 30 for a combination of 100 points, 70 for performance and 30 for continuous improvement. You can also see per year how the APR points scores went up, the available points each year, it goes up. And that's because different things were added. In 2023, for years, our APR score was 180. In 2023, it went up to 192 because they added science and government to the scoring. Last year, they added response to standards. So all of the executive cabinet members weighed into what the responses to standards for the state was, which is what contributes to that 200. So this year's 200, I think that's where it's going to stay for a while at 200. So the timeline, we talk a lot about accreditation. It's a process. And the state, if you look at this 2022, it's gray. The state may not use that year to classify districts. So it's going to use 2023 to 24, 24 to 25, and 25 to 26 to come up with what the classification for states are.
And when you
So
say classification, you mean accreditation standards? Yes.
Yes. So this is how the district scored. So our performance was at 40.3%. So we achieved the possible points of 140, we got 56.5. Continuous improvement, we got 90% of those points for a total of 110 points out of 200 points. Now, here's where I want to make sure that you understand. Beginning of the school year, I said that we will see incremental gains in performance, and we will see incremental. We continue to see incremental gains. We had a 0.5% gain over last year's performance total. But I want to draw your attention to this. If you look at the top is 2022, second one 23, third one 24. If you look at the total points possible, 180, 192, and 200. The total points we earned, we increased by 10%, a little over 10% in the last 2 years. In 2022, we had 100 points. 23, we had 105 points, and 24, we had 110 points. So those are wins. Those are gains. So I don't want anybody to hold their hats and say we're not making enough gains. The state look at these as gains. So I want to be sure I'm clear on that. So when the state go back and they start calculating these years, they look at the growth from 23, 24, 25, 26, and 23, 24, 24, 25, 25, 26. Okay? This is how we get there. We have things in place for academics. We have remedial courses to assist with reading at the middle and high school level. We've done a lot of work around early childhood. We've elevated our program director from early childhood to oversee kindergarten and first grade in the elementary schools to assist to make sure we're capturing those kids in the early childhood level. Okay, but the low hanging fruit are those things we can control and that we need help from our community and our parents. When we look at our college and career readiness, that's a lot of points. That's about 30% of your score. So last year, and let me say this, we wouldn't see progress points on our college and career readiness because they're cohort bound, meaning, and we won't, in 2022-23, we didn't have any participation. 24 reads 2022-23's CCR data. So next year, it'll read 23-24. Year after that, it'll read 25-26. Now, I say that to say this. Next year, you should see a nice amount of college and career readiness points. We had 365 participants participate in our college and career readiness last year. We had no AP courses last year. We implemented 4. We had no Project Lead the Way. We implemented 4 programs. We had no dual credit, dual enrollment. We introduced programs to that, and it netted us 365 participants. Now, this school year, we had a 151% increase in college and career readiness. We really expanded our Project Lead the Way to early childhood and elementary and middle. We also increased our number of AP courses and our number of participants in dual credit, dual enrollment. We've also added AVID to our curriculum, and we've also added 9th grade and 10th grade honor ELA courses. So where last year our participation was 365, this year is 915, which is a 151% increase in our college and career readiness participation. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Dr. Triplett, for this presentation. There's so much to celebrate in this presentation, and I've got a point when I will share my excitement with this board, but at this time, I'm going to open it up for any questions at this time. Director Edwards.
Good evening, Dr. Triplett.
Good evening.
I first want to thank you for presenting that information in the way that you did. That's a lot of information and it can be challenging to understand. My desire and hope is that all of our parents will be able to understand that information, as well as you do and this board does, and what impact that has for us to gain accreditation. That being said, are there workshops or sessions planned to educate our parents about how they can help their child achieve proficient and advanced performance levels?
Yes, we have, well, not necessarily workshops, but we do have 2 public hearings. One will be December 16th this year, 6 o'clock at Beyond Housing. And I believe the other one is in April next year. We'll send that date out. But that's a time where we're going to use that space to really have some activities where we're engaging the public to assist us with what we could do as a team collectively to assist with putting forth energy for accreditation.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Additional questions? Director Pearson.
Thank you for your presentation, Dr. Triplett. Um, I like that the academic points are not on the floor. That this is a lot. My question is, what is the procedure for your graduation follow-up?
So I'm glad you said that. And I would urge all of our community partners and families to come out to the public hearing. because that's actually an activity that we would do for just that question. Um, and I really don't want to give it away. I don't want to spoil alert it, but we'll have a lot of conversation around what we can do for graduate follow up, for graduation rates, to prevent dropout, to increase attendance, to those kinds of things to help push our score even further up.
Okay, thank you. That's my only question.
Thank you. Director Taylor.
Thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to know, in addition to all of the things that you will be doing, will there be any type of programs or assistance set up for parents who may, or like for those students who may be struggling to, be able to pay for the things for graduation?
Well, I think that's a high school question.
Yes, okay.
Yes, ma'am. But I believe Mr. Nave and his team are really working on some things to assist seniors with whatever they're assisting with. But that's a high school question.
Okay, because I know on last year it was, like different things were being said as far as some of the students. Maybe some of them received information not in a timely manner, and some were saying how it may have been a struggle for different things to happen. So, if we can get the information out there, like you say, to the parents
Mhm.
and to the students, they can start planning ahead.
Yeah, but I think the information is out early enough for
Okay.
for people to start planning. It's just a matter of understanding our financial situation
Hmm.
and where the district can assist with some of its senior needs.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions? If there are none, thank you for this presentation, Dr. Triplett. We appreciate it and we celebrate the gains that we're making in this district. With that being said, we'll move on to item 6.08, staffing update.
Good evening, President Hodge and Board of Directors and Superintendent. My name is Kawana Gilliard, and I am the Chief Human Resource Officer. And I just want to give you guys an update about our staffing as of November the 30th, 2024. I really want to highlight that we do have an overall 50% fill rate. And so if you look closely, we do want to celebrate that we do have a 94.40% of all certified teachers in classrooms, especially on the elementary and core classes for the middle school and high school.
Excellent. Thank you.
And here are some of the current recruitment efforts that we are currently doing. I do want to highlight that starting in January, we will be hosting open interviews every Wednesday. So that's something that we're looking forward to for the upcoming semester. Thank you.
We like brief presentations packed with good information. Are there any questions at this time? Director Edwards.
Good evening. Um, I don't want to mess up your last name, but it's okay. Monica's. I'm good evening. So, I know it's been a couple of months since we have onboarded our international teachers. Um, can you tell us how they have affected our teacher ratio for the positive, and how will we update our parents about the student teacher ratios and the contributions our international teachers have had for on that?
Okay, that was a lot. Can you start with the first part of your question?
Well, really, the first part was just saying that I know that we onboarded several international teachers earlier, a couple months ago. And so I really want to see if you can explain to us the effects that they've had on the student teacher ratio within our classrooms. And then, uh, I'll stop right there.
Okay. So we did onboard about 55 international teachers throughout the district. And so the impact that it have had, they are adjusting. It's a little bit challenging for them because they are learning the way of teaching the American way. And so we are really supporting them in the classroom. We have coaches, the principals are working with them, and any additional support that they need, we are providing them as well. And I think the kids are starting to embrace it and understand that they have a consistency within their classroom when it comes to teachers.
To clarify here, at the beginning of the school year, what was the percentage of field certified teachers at that time?
About 66%,
And right now, the field rate is
94.
that's the impact of these international students. We literally have certified teachers in classrooms now, and that has been a national challenge, not just a Normandy challenge. Throughout our region, we have a certified teacher shortage, and it's pretty fair to say that we have a shortage. But this is about 2 or 3 teachers that we're talking about. Maybe 6 teachers. How many teachers? How many certified positions are we still trying to fill at this time?
Right now, it's 9 vacancies, and those vacancies are really at the middle school and the high school, and they are like elective classes like art, music, PE, business classes. So pretty much, we probably only have one science vacancies at the high school right now.
Maybe we can get William Humphrey in one of those classrooms to teach some art. He's retired and got skills.
I could teach photography.
He can teach photography. But this is great news and deserves a celebration. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Other questions before you leave, Ms. Gilead? I know Director Edwards had questions too. Director Pearson. Let's go to Director Pearson and come back to Edwards.
Good evening. Thank you for your presentation. My question is, how will you get the advertisement out for the hiring event that you're going to have every Tuesday?
We are working on getting flyers. We have those coming hopefully next week. We working with communication to do more social media presence, and we also have billboards coming up as well. So we really networking with colleges and universities. We really trying to establish that relationship in the community and really boots on the ground right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Director Edwards?
Yes, I just want to get some clarity around the international teachers, them being certified or classified. So there are actually certified teachers for the state of Missouri. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Great. Mr. Humphrey?
Yes. As I listened to the presentation tonight and I reflected on the presentation last month, one of the concerns I have, and it's not really a question, but I'm really concerned about having a good feel for what's happening with school culture. Because last month we had reports, but the response rates were relatively low. And I say that because it's critically important to understand the culture and climate of our schools, because on the back end of recruitment is retention. And I know that we've gotten 55 plus international teachers, and I want to make sure that the places that are coming to work every day is welcoming to the point this time next year we don't have a mass exodus of teachers, either international or others. So I just wanted to make that as a comment, and if you have any response to that, I'd love to hear it.
So yes, retention, I would say it is a school level thing, in order for, us to continue to keep those individuals in them schools. It's a collaboration with the school building and making sure that their culture and climate is up to par.
Now, I guess just to follow up to that, and then I'll be done. On the back end of retention is an exit interview process. Talk to us a little bit about how that exit interview process goes, because I think lessons learned from people leaving the district will help to ensure what our practices are in the future. So if you could talk a little bit about that, it would be helpful.
Yes, we do an exit interview for all individuals that separate with the district, and we do share that information with our administrators at the school level and district level, just so we can see what we can do to help improve that. Any concerns or questions that they have had when they exit. So
And just as a follow-up on exit interviews, what's the approximate percentage of exit interviews that you're getting from folks that are leaving the district? Just ballpark wise.
it's a hit and miss. I would say ballpark wise, if we send it out to people, we probably get 20% back. We don't get that much response back from those individuals.
All right, thank you. For this, you got a question,
Yeah.
Director Taylor.
Just thank you for the presentation. Does Normandy Schools Collaborative have the Parents as Teachers program? Because I know some school districts, they do. The parents,
Yes, we do. From
parents.
yes,
So we have had parents who have come and maybe did sub positions.
Oh,
well,
that's a different.
yeah, I'm not in that space. That's a student support service
Okay.
question, maybe. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
hmm
Well, we want, for the sake of time, I want to thank Ms. Gilliard for her presentation, um, uh, and move on to item 6.609, with public safety. Thank you, Ms. Gilliard, for this presentation. We invite Norm Campbell to present and share with us monthly, because we know there's a priority on safety in our schools, and we've done a lot of wonderful things. So can you give us an update?
Absolutely. And again, good evening, Board President, members of the board, Superintendent, ladies and gentlemen. What you have before you are the monthly strategic rates and the alerts. So as you can see, and I won't go through all of them, but obviously in August we had 15, and then it went up to 73 and on back down. What that tells us is that in the month of September, pretty much we had a lot of acclimation going on, kids trying to get acclimated to school and not following the rules properly, and our teachers being concerned and actually using the crisis alert that we provided for them, which is a good thing. I like to see those numbers, because that means that teachers are comfortable with pressing those buttons and getting us involved. So out of those 73, and altogether for the whole semester so far, we've had, excuse me, 179 actual alerts. 55 were just tests. That means that we were onboarding people, and mostly the new international teachers, getting those individuals involved. 51 were actual fights. Uh, 15 were accidental press. 6 were suspicious behaviors, and 51 were just behavior. And we had 1 medical alert. So again, what that means is that our teachers are actually using them, and we promote that. I know one of the board members had a question last time about suspicious behavior and what that means. That could be anything that teacher or that administrator deems necessary that's out of place. So that's what suspicious behaviors mean.
Great. We've got time for questions.
Yes, sir, you
I
do.
want to ask the first question. Are we a safer district than we were 1 year ago?
Absolutely, 100%. Uh, we have administrators now that are involved. We have our crisis alert that's involved. We have new cameras that are installed. We have an increased security staff. We have a more educated staff. We have trained. We have educated. So I would say absolutely, sir, we are 100% more safer than we were last year.
Thank you. Other questions? If there are no questions, we'll move on. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes,
We'll
sir.
move on to item 6.10, district-wide cell phone ban. I think you're here with us for that also?
I am also. Yes, sir. So again, good evening. And so after a lot of contemplation and discussion with Dr. Triplett and in the cabinet, we have come to the conclusion that it is now time to get our kids refocused and propose a cell phone ban. Uh, as you all know, 2 years ago, we introduced the Yonder pouches. Um, the kids were destroying them and they didn't go over well. So last year we reintroduced the policy, and again, they were being destroyed. Kids were bringing in dummy phones, and the policy wasn't really consistently enforced throughout the buildings. So last year, or this year, excuse me, we thought that we would do a comprehensive plan and allow the buildings to regulate the enforcement of cell phone usage in the buildings. And that still hasn't worked. We're still having an abundance of issues related to cell phones. Kids are fighting. There's websites out there that are geared towards filming and recording our fights and promoting them throughout on social media, which further embarrasses our district. So now we're proposing that we ban cell phones totally, and we're asking for your support in that.
I'm sure there are lots of questions, so this is a time for dialogue related to this topic. I will open up this board for questions, starting with Director Petty.
I- I've had considerable conversation around this particular topic with several of my board colleagues, and so I will yield this time to them to discuss in the interest of time.
Director Milton Roberts is not with us this evening. Director Pearson.
I really don't have any questions. I just have one comment, um, which is I am in support of the cell phone ban. The other school districts that we often compare ourselves to, Ladue, Clayton, their parents are going for that cell phone ban
Absolutely.
because they understand the repercussions that come from cell phones.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's my support fully.
Director Edwards.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have a couple questions.
Yes, ma'am.
So, what is the projected implementation date of this ban?
Well, we'd like to start sending out literature as early as tomorrow, trying to get the parents informed so that we will start the ban actually in the second semester. So when we come back from in January, we're actually trying to start our cell phone ban in the second semester.
Okay, so my next question was you kind of already answered it, but I'm gonna just ask it in case you have some more to input.
Sure.
What strategies are in place to proactively communicate the circumstances and benefits of the ban to parents prior to implementation?
So education, education, education. Literature, correspondence out to the families, trying to educate them on the caveats of having the phones and how it's affecting the learning communities within our schools. Um, so we also have parent committees. We're going to introduce this at the parent committees and get some feedback on how parents actually feel and building level introduction and having conversation with parents on the building level.
My other question is a question that I'm pretty sure a lot of parents will have is how will parents' concerns about contacting their children during emergencies will be addressed under this policy?
Yes, ma'am. So there are avenues that we can take. Um, and realistically speaking, and I don't want to, I guess I can say this out loud. I mean, you can't keep the kids from bringing them in. So if we could have a strategy where they can have a safe place to put them in the schools, the other districts are using that strategy to have a safe place for the students to leave their phones in case of emergency. That's a strategy. Just having them on them and not producing them during the school hours, only during times that will be allotted by the principal, the building principal. There's all sorts of strategies that we can explore.
And my last question is what alternative communication systems or protocols can parents rely on with this ban being in place?
I don't think I understand your question.
So,
being that the students won't be able to access their phones, what other communications efforts can the parents rely on to be able to get in contact with their child in the case of an emergency that happens?
Absolutely, I get it. So obviously, I mean, as primitive as this may be, but there's phones in the buildings. They will be allowed to use the building phones. Contact their teachers. Their teachers may be able to direct them to the front office or wherever they may. Wherever the building principal will deem necessary that kids were able or students are able to come and use the phone and contact their parents in case of an emergency.
My last thing is I understand the importance of making sure that our students are fully engaged in the learning experiences
Sure.
within our classrooms.
Sure.
I guess my concern is how in this short period of time from the date that you want to implement it, how will we be able to convince parents and not have these, you know, problematic issues with parents, um, how would that go forth in such a short period of time? What um, do you have any ideas around that? Because that is my major concern.
Well, parent buy-in is going to be our biggest hurdle, actually. It won't be the kids, I don't believe it. I think it'll be the parents. And again, educating them on how the cell phones are a major distraction during classroom times and during the building times, and so show them how it is affecting our culture and climate in every building that we have is the only way that I can see that we can educate our parents and get the buy-in from them.
Great. Director Taylor.
Thank you for your presentation. Most of my questions were already asked by Director Edwards. One other thing that I am remembering, I remember years ago, there was always instances where children, if they were caught with cell phones, they were held and the parents had to come back up to the school to pick those up. So will parents, be made aware that there are consequences if your children or if your child is caught with, with the cell phone? And so I feel like, Miss Erica, when you said the parents really need to be educated on the importance of it. And I think some of them are aware because we know that they're able to go onto these sites and, one person, one makes a comment, then it goes and it spreads. And so I think a lot of the parents are aware of that. And the other, I guess the thing I'm concerned about is if we vote on it tonight and it's implemented, will it be enough time for the parents to wrap their minds around this is what the Normandy schools is going to be doing?
That's a great question. And again, everybody's on their own different learning curve. So I won't be able to say definitely that we'll have 100% buy-in from the
Yeah.
parents. And
Oh, yeah,
in fact,
we
we
know.
probably
Yeah,
won't.
we won't.
We'll probably get a lot of buy-in. I mean, based on the conversations that I've had in the community, a lot of parents, everybody's really in favor of it. There's a few people that want to have that constant connection with their children while they're still in school. I don't know why, but that's the way that's the world that we're living in now. So we will definitely again try to educate and make sure that parents are aware that their kids will be safe and able to contact them if necessary.
And could I just say this is not a question, this is just a statement. And I think a lot of the parents allow their children to use these because the phone is to pacify the child. And we don't want the child to be pacified at school. We
Sure.
want them to come so that they can learn.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Director Taylor,
Yes, sir.
we pretty much knew it was coming. We've sent communication out to parents on a couple of occasions, informing them that if we couldn't get a better stronghold on cell phones being a distractor in the schools, that this would be the recourse. We've even sent information out as late as about 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago. We've even said it at a couple of board meetings that we would monitor this month over month to determine whether or not we will make a recommendation to the board. And this is where we are right now.
Thank you. William Humphrey.
Well, first of all, thank you for the presentation. Um, as I think about the ban, I have lots of mixed emotions.
Sure.
The first thing I'll say is that as part of MSEP 6, it talks about the voice of the student being involved in school development and leadership. In all of the presentations that I've heard about cell phone policies, I have yet to hear anyone tell me what policy would the students like to have. I've heard about the first implementation of Yonder, and it fell apart. They redid it, but I know the superintendent has a student advisory group.
Mhm.
Uh, I would say, as a part of that communication process, I've said on more than one occasion, we have to teach our children how to self-manage,
Mhm. Mhm.
because part of the education process is being able to get our behaviors under control.
Mhm.
Because there's no employer that you can go anywhere that I know of that you can take a cell phone and be on it all day long and do the things that they're doing with it. So my first concern is I need to hear what the students want to have. I know what we're getting ready to do. When we flip the switch, my concern, we're starting to make gains in attendance, but are we prepared for the number of students we're going to have to suspend as a result of this? Because they've already shown resistance from the first two policies. And so what I want to do is make sure that we have good, clear conversations from students.
Yes, sir.
And I know most of the students that are creating the issues are at the middle school and the high school level. I know that's where they are.
Yes, sir.
And so I would like to hear some more from students about, because at the end of the day, if we got to ban cell phones, I know that, and I've mentioned to the superintendent before, Ritner has a very simple policy. There simply is no sale after the bell. And so it gives clear, simple instructions. When we ban cell phone, I understand it's creating a challenge in the classroom.
Yes, sir.
But I also think we need to be prudent the way we manage it. I think a couple of things we need to look at also is that we do have a device policy. We need to look at our device policy to make sure that it supports that ban.
Yes.
And we also have to look at our code of conduct to make sure that whatever the discipline is related to what you're getting ready to implement is also covered there.
Yes.
So those are my concerns. At the end of the day, we need a classroom that's productive, a classroom that's safe, a classroom that's orderly. But I also need to hear from the students, because I think that's a critical piece, because they've rejected two different systems, and I would like to know what is it that they want.
Yes,
And
sir.
if we can deliver that, it becomes a win-win.
So to your point, and I'm glad you brought that up because Dr. Triplett, we do have a student advisory board, and Dr. Triplett had the wherewithal to ask them impromptu while we were sitting there. It wasn't on the agenda, but he asked, how did they feel about a cell phone ban? And believe it or not, I believe every student in that room, if I'm not mistaken, was in favor and understood the caveats of having cell phones. They're sick of it too.
Okay.
So that was interesting enough. So I don't think there was a student in that room that said, I think there might have been one, and we,
How many students were in the room?
about 15, about 15 students.
But I think the key to this is going to be the parents.
Sure, absolutely. I said that before. Yes, sir. You're right.
Thank you. We've been having this conversation for over 3 months. We've had an opportunity to talk with our constituents. We've talked with students. We've talked with parents. Tonight, we're going to be asked to vote on this.
Yes, sir.
There needs to be a policy update presented to the board. I don't know if we've seen the language for that at this time. The question that I have is, who will be responsible for enforcing this new policy? Um, and that's what I've seen varied at different schools. And in many cases, it comes down to the teacher. But who's responsible for enforcing
So,
this?
so my suggestion to our cabinet would be the building principal is overall responsible for the rules in the building. So we would put that onus on the building principal.
So there will be a general ban throughout the district, and the schools will determine what that looks like at each site.
It'll be universal. So we want to make sure that the same rule carries throughout the district and not just school by school, because that's the loophole. If you have any change in a policy, a protocol, a memo of understanding, and it's not done consistently across the district. That's a loophole. So we want to consistent. We want to make sure that uh, administration is owning that process and making sure that it's implemented with fidelity in the buildings. We don't want teachers to get in that fight. They could send the alerts out or text out, and administrators are to address those issues.
Yes, sir.
All right, so are there other questions? Thank you for this information. Um, it looks like we're going to come back to this discussion later. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Thank you.
Moving on to item 6.11.
Alan, just before we move ahead, you mentioned the policy updates and things like that. So will that be done between now and the next meeting so we can actually look?
We haven't asked for action at this time.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's a benefits update. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, Board of Education and Dr. Triplett and Normandy Schools community. Again, I wanted to, this time you, the board, have asked for an update on our benefits plan following the migration or the move to Cigna recently effective October 1st. And so we have in the House, we have our broker representatives. We have Richard Gaines and Rick Gary. I'm going to ask those gentlemen to come forward, and they're going to address any questions that you might have at this time. We also have in the House representatives from our insurance carrier Cigna. So we've got Ann Brady in the House and Justin, and they are also seated, and they can also address any questions that may be presented. So at this time, without any further ado, I'm going to ask Mr. Gaines and Mr. Gary to come forward.
Superintendent Hobbs, members of the board, Superintendent President Hobbs, members of the board, and Superintendent Triplett. We are here this evening essentially at the request of you, as we understand it, to explain or where we are as it relates to some of the issues that were involved in the onboarding of Cigna as the benefits carrier. We have had, since our last time here, we've had a meeting. That meeting has been with Cigna, your administrative staff, your brokers, where we sat, as well as NEA, where we sat to discuss the issues that were had to be addressed as a result of changing carriers. We think that a pretty good understanding of what was needed is now being provided, and the issues that faced us as we started this track have been pretty much resolved. If there are any additional questions, we are obviously here to field those and give you the best answers we can.
Thank you so much for providing this information to the board. There were some questions regarding price fluctuation, and I'm going to turn the mic over to Director Pearson, who requested this presentation.
Thank you, President Hodge. I requested the presentation, but I don't see a PowerPoint to go with it, or maybe I missed it.
See an email.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I was requesting a PowerPoint for logistic reasons, a comparison of the previous company and the benefits that you all have. Um, I don't see it, so.
We were not directed to do that. We were directed to come this evening to basically address any questions that may be being fielded relative to the implementation of the health benefits plan. We'll be more than happy to provide you with that comparison at another time or at your next board meeting.
I would, sorry, I would prefer it sooner than later. Because what we're hearing from a lot of our teachers, a lot of our teachers have medical conditions, and those medical conditions are not either covered by the insurance or they're at a very high rate. where they can't afford basic living things. So if I could get that PowerPoint, that would be great. I mean, well, we could get the PowerPoint, that would be great. But that's what I've been asking for from get-go. Um, I'm not sure where the disconnect come, but if it could be done possibly
I really think that
before the end of the school or the end of the year, that would be great.
we'd be more than happy to provide you with that. I really think most of the questions that had been raised during this period of time were addressed in the meeting with the NEA, your staff, and us and Cigna. Um, Ann Grady, who is a representative of Cigna, is here now to speak to what happened, what the issues were as we saw them, and what we thought were being felt by staff here, and what those remedies have been. Ms. Brady?
Good evening. There was a key component of preventive medications that was missed during the plan build. We did go through the benefit summaries from your previous carrier and tried to match benefits as closely as possible. And I believe benefit to benefit, we pretty much were able to match benefits as closely as possible. The preventive medication list was an error that was missed during your plan build, and that has since been corrected. Over 86 claims are being reprocessed, and over $6,000 is being refunded to members whose claims were processed during the time before that fix was made. But I think based on other information that we've seen in terms of claim questions or claim denials has primarily been with regard to prior authorizations. And prior authorizations is our medical management component where our job is to be good stewards of your benefit dollars. And as such, we utilize the Food and Drug Administration's guidelines with regards to approval of drugs and utilization of drugs. This is something that your previous carrier would have done where the prior authorization was probably put in place by the physician with United Healthcare. And during the process of the move from Cigna or from United Healthcare to Cigna, those prior authorizations don't transfer. There is no mechanism for those to transfer. And I think most of the high dollar amount things that you're talking about were lack of prior authorizations for those pharmaceuticals in question. I communicated with the HR team multiple times about that prior authorization process. So hopefully that's been communicated to employees. It is never our goal to deny anyone drugs, but that prior authorization is what we do to, again, be good stewards of your money. We've provided the HR after the meeting with the National Education Association. We provided a form for any members with any concerns about claims being processed not correctly or any concerns. We provided the necessary information we need to be able to address that for any of your employees. I can't remember what date we did that, but it was several weeks ago, and as of today, we have received no forms back for us to be able to research anything for any of the employees that have been impacted. So again, we are happy. We're more than willing to assist anybody with any claim issues or claim concerns. That form will give us the information that we need to be able to assist. So we
Thank
are
you.
here and willing to
Thank
help.
you.
I think the prior authorization process
Thank you.
was
Thank
probably
Thank you. Thank you. We understand the process. We are advocating for the teachers in this district.
Yep.
This concern arises because there is dissatisfaction with the product and the charges. We have not heard an update regarding that. So at this time, I'm going to ask, is there a representative from the NEA in the audience who can speak to this at this time? And we would like to know the results of the meeting and the level of satisfaction among our NEA at this time. I think that would resolve our concerns.
Thank you.
Sorry. What was that question again?
The question is, we understand that there was a meeting after the concerns arose at our from the NEA regarding expenses, and that those, if I heard correctly, those concerns were addressed in a meeting with the NEA and our HR, and we just want you to testify to that, that those concerns have been resolved.
Well, I want to say good afternoon, good evening to the board, the superintendent. Now, we have a meeting on November the 21st, which was a Thursday. Those concerns were brought up in the meeting with the broker and the carrier. Many of these concerns were not addressed, only a few. I sent out an email upon return from the break, Thanksgiving break, to the membership. We are still in the process of getting additional paperwork in order to complete. That is the reason why what the last presenter just stated, they have not received anything because we are still in the process of submitting the information to HR, contacting HR to get the paperwork. I'm one, for example, who submitted an email to HR and was directed on the next steps to follow. So it still is a process in trying to rectify or correct this error that has taken place. So with the information that is being given, it has been shared and we're still working through it.
What is the pleasure of the NEA at this point? What would you like to see happen next?
Well, I don't know the rapid speed of correcting this issue, but it does take time in processing it and contacting the HR department, going to the next step. So we're having to follow various steps in order to get reimbursement for whatever the fees were regarding medical care or preventive medical care and also preventative medical prescriptions filled. Because I know that was one of the other biggest things where we had several staff members who were unable to get their medication filled, such as for diabetes. One person went without medication for at least 2 weeks. So these are issues that we are still working through in order to bring remedy to the situation.
Okay, great. I'm going to propose this. Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
patience. What we want to do is have a resolution because we are advocating for our most precious asset in the education of our children, which are our teachers. And so we're going to ask, it sounds like there hasn't been a resolution at this point, and that you're willing to take some time to make that happen. We just need an update in the next 30 days or so of on that process. Can you do that? Can we go back to the drawing board, make sure we're clear about what it is that we need, work with Ms. Gilliard and our providers to resolve the concerns, at least come to an understanding of what we need to do to make this arrangement work well.
And when the information was presented to us on the 21st, it was my understanding, once we contacted HR, that would be forwarded to the provider, insurance provider. My experience in contacting HR, that was not the case. I have to submit the form. So I don't know if that could be simplified in a manner where the information that's being
Mr.
transmitted
Ward,
directly.
I believe that
Mhm,
that problems have solutions.
mhm.
And I think that if we put our brains together, that we can answer all of those questions. And we've got the gift of time to be able to do that. So I'm going to ask you to work with the Cigna team and with Ms. Gilliard and our HR team to figure out what can we do to best serve the teachers of this district. Can we do that?
Most definitely.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Thank
And
you.
we would like to have an update at our next board meeting. And so we thank you for being here at all of these board meetings to help us understand. And when we ask this question the next time, we want an affirmative answer that our NEA is satisfied with the solution. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we'd like to move to item 7.01. These are items for discussion and action. We've got a presentation from and an update from our audit. Is that
Actually,
correct?
at this time, sir, the auditors are still wrapping up the report. And so there are a few other things. They're wrapping it up this week. They want to get wrapped up this week, and they committed to that. So we are going to request, working through Dr. Triplett and Ms. Rigsby, a Zoom meeting with you all sometime next week. We'll get you the material, the report, the audit report, either in draft form or final for your review. But we were wanting to get some time to have a special Zoom meeting, board meeting, to get this this audit wrapped up and approved, presented to you and
We
approved.
did understand that this audit is coming down to the wire. It is something that needs to be done before the end of the year, and we were informed that it could be a slight delay. So I will entertain a motion to table this um, item for action for 1 week.
Yes, we would like to perhaps look at a date that is agreeable with you all, a quorum. Maybe it could be Wednesday, Thursday, or even, early
All right, so
Friday.
we're gonna table a vote on the action on this item to be done prior to the end of this school year, the end of of this calendar year. Okay, so I will entertain a motion to table that decision at this time.
So move.
It's been moved by Director Pearson. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Ms. Taylor. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, say nay. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 7.02, district-wide cell phone ban. Mhm.
So, Mr. President, just to be clear, we're proposing a complete cell phone ban.
All right, so there is a request from security to for the board to approve a complete cell phone ban throughout the district.
Can I ask a question?
Well, yes, there's a appropriate time. So so you're asking us to entertain a motion for a
Complete.
complete cell phone ban throughout the district.
Yes, sir.
I will entertain a motion at this time.
So move.
It's been moved by Director Pearson. Is there a second? I second that. And discussion.
My only request is that there is very, very clear verbiage for parents, students, and staff. So there's no type of crisscross of wires of who's in control of who's going to have that band. Director Taylor mentioned there was a time when your phone was taken, your parents had to come and get it. To a parent, that's an inconvenience. I'm a parent. If I got to come get my daughter's phone, that's an inconvenience.
Yes, ma'am.
So maybe someone needs to be inconvenienced. I just asked that there's very, 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 very clear literature on this ban,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
it's expressed to students, staff, um, parents, community, all of the above.
Yes, ma'am. Clear.
I am in favor of this ban. It is not a revolution. It's an evolution of a ban that has already been in place. We're just extending it and implementing it in a new fashion. And the details around how that will be implemented will be forthcoming. So I am in favor of that.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Ms. Taylor.
I would like to say I agree with Director Humphrey. I think that he had suggested maybe getting some input from the students, also checking within our board policies. And I mean, I understand that there's a rush to do this. Like you say, you all want to do a drop tomorrow and get the information out there. But I think there are still a lot of questions and concerns that have been posed tonight before I would make, a decision to say yes on that. So I just want to put that out there
Yes,
for the
sir.
record.
Thank you. Other questions?
Well, I have a comment. I guess mine, I talked about my concerns earlier, and my concerns all center around implementation because we've had two failed implementations.
Yes, sir.
And I'm hoping it's not going to happen, but based on past history, it's an indication of what's happening in the future. If this is not implemented with fidelity, you're going to have a mess.
Absolutely.
And so that's what my concern is. My concern is that we're very intentional about how we communicate. And I would like to see the communication happen before the implementation
Absolutely.
because it gives you a window to understand, what those reactions are. Because if we approve it tonight and you implement next week, I'd rather communicate to, give a communication window to parents to give them an opportunity to have whatever due diligence they want to have around that, because the students have had two opportunities to do things, see three.
Yes.
Well, my other concern, as you went through the presentation, I didn't hear you say any student paid for any of those yonder pouches they tore up, and that's part of accountability.
Yes. I agree.
So my thing is, if you tore it up, it needs to be on your account and it needs to be paid off before graduation. And so that's called that's real talk.
Yes, sir.
Because see, and I only say that because after we did major work in construction at the high school, you saw that sink that was destroyed,
I did,
and nobody was held accountable for that.
sir.
And I do not want to continue supporting foolishness because if they tear it up, they need to pay for it
Yep.
because we pay for it.
Yep. You're right. Absolutely.
So my thing is, let's make sure that we're clear about how we're communicating with parents. Make sure we're clear. Matter of fact, you said you want to implement this when they return back to when do they return back to school? So
January
in
6th.
January. So between now and January, we have a window to address students and everybody. So when they know, here's what's coming, you got to figure it out.
Agreed.
Point of clarification. For the past 3 months, we've been telling them, communicating what's been coming. They've sent several letters. It's been communicated to us as a board. We received multiple letters. There's been a discussion, and we've talked about this in board meetings, that this ban has been on the agenda for the past at least 3 board agendas, that this ban was coming. I think that our safety and our superintendent have been very clear that we're not going to surprise anybody by this announcement.
Absolutely.
I do agree that the implementation is critical, but we're implementing a policy right now. We're literally struggling with implementation because we need to know what are we going to do about these cell phones now. And so I don't mind failure. Failure is feedback. And right now we're getting feedback that what we were doing is not working. And so we need to change what we're doing and we need to do it immediately. I don't want to see another fight on the internet.
Absolutely.
I don't want to see that. And I don't want to say, "Oh, we're coming up with a plan right now to keep your kid from being blasted on the internet being picked up." We don't need a plan for that. We need to just get rid of the cell phones.
Sure.
And so I I hate to be a bully on this, but this is action, and I don't want to make it, I want to make it very clear that our administration has been doing the background work to prepare parents for this, and there are no surprises to be expected for this announcement.
President,
Yes,
I'd just like to say for clarification as well, I am a grandparent.
Hmm.
I have not received a letter at my address regarding the ban on the cell phones. And so all I can say in defense of some other parents, there may be other parents who have received it. There may be other parents who have not received it. So let's make sure that we get the information out, make sure that we are aware that everyone has received that information. Like I say, I don't know what happened this last school year. I'm just not receiving anything in my address. My granddaughter received, and I just want to point this out. My granddaughter received her bus information the Friday before school started. I just want that on the record. Thank you.
Understood.
Okay. Uh, I'm a parent in the school district. I've been receiving the
I'm a
email
grandparent.
every month.
Mhm.
The first email was September 27th. So that's why I agree with it. And like President Hodge said, um, we don't have any more time for any mistakes. We don't have any more time for let's figure out a plan. It's kind of let's do it, then we're gonna fix it. So that's why I'm really clear with the let's get the verbiage correctly so that you cannot say that you didn't know. If you guys to send it to them 60,000 times, if Mr. Trahan got to send out 60,000 text messages, 80,000 emails, if I got to receive a robocall on both the phones and the house phone too, then let's do it. Just let them know that this is serious because our surrounding districts don't have to go through any of this. They are for it. So, um, yeah.
other comments?
I guess the only other comment, I guess as we're looking at this, is there actually a formalized implementation plan for whatever this is? Is that currently formalized?
Yes, sir. The answer is yes. And we still have to take it back to our cabinet to make sure that all the caveats are fixed as you all brought up. So just make sure that it's foolproof and that the communication does go out and everybody's educated on what we're actually doing now.
Okay, and I guess my comment, board colleagues, are you comfortable with the fact that while they're developing the implementation plan, we approve it now? Or would you prefer to have them finalize the implementation plan, allow us to have feedback on it before implementation? How do you feel about that?
Seeing that I have a daughter in middle school and me and her keep open communication, and I'm not saying as far as text messages when she come home from school is, yeah, if they didn't have their phones out, we could be better off. Because if you don't know, there's a Facebook page with nothing but Normandy fights, and there's a page for the middle school and the high school and some of the elementary schools. All of that could be stopped but it just can't stop with the school. It got to start with everybody. So if a parent got to be inconvenienced because the kids got to have their phones, right? So if the principal was holding the kids' phones, got to come get it. Well, then don't you cut up no more. Because if I got to come get your phone, your teacher gonna keep it until next year.
There you go.
Because I'm not taking off work,
So that
and it is what it is.
that sounds like a no, don't wait. I am also in the category and a no, don't wait.
That's the exact procedure that they had when my daughter was here in the Normandy School District. She graduated 12, I think. But that's what it was. If the cell phone was taken, I had to leave work early and I had to come and retrieve that phone.
Is that a third no, don't wait? President Humphrey asked the question, is this board's desire to wait for a plan or to implement this without a solid plan in place?
I choose to wait for a plan.
Okay? Um, and Director Petty.
Point of order, Mr. President. I think why wouldn't the next move just be to call for a vote?
So is there a call for a vote? Are you calling the vote?
I thought that was the next procedural move. I've never, this is an unfamiliar territory for somebody to raise a question when there's a motion on the floor that's been seconded.
There's that, formally, that is an amendment to the motion that Director Humphrey has requested. He has two options at this point to
But you're saying
table
we
the vote.
heard amendment? He said I'm amending the motion. He said
No,
that tonight?
no, he has
Oh,
not,
okay.
but he is exploring two options at this time that he has the right to do. One is to amend the motion. He also has the option of tabling the vote.
You just said he
We,
didn't say amend the
he,
motion.
not sure if is the
Well,
microphone on?
What I communicated was that I had a concern. I don't have a problem with the policy. I'm concerned about implementation because we've attempted an implementation 3 different times on something else, and I just want to be clear around how we implement this so we don't add this as a fourth one.
What is your you? One of the things that I've repeatedly said with this board is that we have to be familiar with Robert's Rules of Order and how we conduct the business of this board. I do agree with Dr. Petty's concern about having a dialogue at this time on the board. This is a decision-making board, and we don't know if, Mr. Humphrey, if you are making an amendment or if you're tabling the discussion to the
We do
motion.
know that. He didn't make the amendment. You're just saying that he made that, but he
I don't
didn't.
know what the I don't know what the pleasure of Director Humphrey is.
Okay.
I'm trying to understand that as much as you, Dr. Petty. Are you calling the vote or not?
Here's what I did. I simply clarified a concern. I have no problem with what the motion is on the floor. I'm prepared to vote.
Okay, so then let's do a vote.
All right, the vote is being called. So at this time, we are going to, we have a motion. It has been, there's a first and a second. We've had dialogue around that. And at this time, we will do a roll call vote on the motion to implement a school-wide ban on cell phones, a district-wide ban on cell phones.
And,
Yes,
and that's
sir.
just impacting children only, right? Because when you say school-wide ban, that's too broad. So we're just talking children.
A student-wide ban.
Okay.
The vote on the floor is to ban cell phones for scholars throughout the district. President Hodge,
Yes.
Vice President Humphrey,
Yes.
Secretary Taylor,
Abstain.
Director Pearson,
Yes.
Director Dr. Petty.
No.
The yes has it.
Thank you very much. So with that being said, we will move on to item 8.01. Sorry, items for consent. Items 8.01 through 8.03. All of these items for consent have been provided to the board in advance of today's meeting. So we will move to item 9.01. I will entertain a motion to approve those consent items.
So move.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay. Thank you. Those consent items have been approved. At this time, we will move to item 10, Joint Executive Governing Board announcement and comments. I will start with Dr. Petty.
At this late hour, I have no comments at this time.
Thank you. Director Edwards. Director Edwards.
My name is
She's gone, right?
Pearson.
Pearson.
Pearson, Director Pearson.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm gonna keep it brief, but I'm gonna keep it real. Okay, so this morning, we were honored to be a part of the Believe 13 lab in Washington Elementary, and it was a great ceremony. Reading is fundamental. It is always the key topic of our discussions here in these board meetings and in life. So I'm glad for the opportunity. Thank you again, Dr. Triplett, for allowing us to put more than one in our school district. We also had the opportunity to meet Mrs.
Smith.
Smith, and she was one of the first Black teachers in the Normandy School District. So, hearing her story, hearing her talk about her struggles and her courage, it really motivated me. Another thing, the kids sang a song by Frankie, Beverly, and Mays, Working Together. I think that we all should listen to it. I want to say thank you to our teachers. They're our educators. Dr. Triplett, or was it President Hodge? It was one of the two that stated teachers are the only single career that produce plenty of careers, and it is very true. This past Saturday, I had the opportunity to be a part of the LM39 Toy Drive. It is hosted by our former NFL player and our former Viking, Lawrence Maroney. It was a great success, big ticket items. Each kid got toys and books. We had a Santa. It was a great time. Thank you to Ms. Days and Mr. Robinson for assisting us in everything that we needed. Also, Friday, I was able to be honored as a nominee for A Night with the Stars. It is a award ceremony hosted by Community Impact Network. Um, there were Normandy alum, Normandy administration, Normandy students, including myself, that was nominated. Congratulations to Dr. Payne, Coach L, and our chess babies. They won those awards, and the awards were the Solution Award, the Teamwork Award, the Listening Award, and the Emerging Changemaker Award. They're making great differences in our community. Another thing, Alumni Night is December 20th in Viking Hall. If you are a Normandy alum, please come out and show your support. I want to address one last thing. Our last work session, it was said that when we come behind this mic, we have aggression. If anybody knows Teresa Pearson, they know that most of the time she is aggressive and passionate about anything that she touches her hands on, especially Normandy. Whether I have a child in the district or whether I don't have a child in the district. Whether I'm alum or not, I'm a longtime resident. So what I'm passionate about, I'm gonna be very aggressive about, whether you like it or not. So I'm never a victim of my circumstances. I'm always a victor and sometimes a villain if you think so. That's on you. But none of that has to do with me. I'm on this board, as Ms. Taylor has said plenty of times, I was elected to be on this board for the children and not just my child, because I only have one child in the district. All of these kids is considered my kids now, and I love on them all the same. So my passion does not come from anger, it comes from passion. It comes from my heart, because Normandy is my heart. If you know me, then you know me. If you don't, then that's on you. Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Feliz Navidad, Happy New Year.
Thank you, Director Taylor.
Thank you to all of the Normandy School Collaborative staff, family, community, all of those that support our children, and praying that you will have a safe and prosperous Christmas. And as she mentioned, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, I do want to say Jesus is the reason for the season.
Director Humphrey.
I have no comments.
Briefly tonight, we've had a wonderful celebration this evening of the successes of our district. There's plenty to be excited about. In the superintendent's presentation, he shared strategies too. Um, One is that we are making tremendous strides to do the things to gain continuous improvement points in this district. He pointed out that over the next 2 years, we have 2 years of runway to prove that we can make continual improvement in our APR scores, that we will be evaluated 2 years from now on whether or not we've improved over the past 3 years. That means that we will not have a change in our accreditation status for 2 years. There will be no change. Right now, we are provisionally accredited. We will be provisionally accredited next year, and we could move up to full accreditation in 2026, right? Now, that means we will not move down. We only have an opportunity to move up. The superintendent has informed us of two critical things that have happened. One is that the first year of our evaluation, we've shown improvement. That if we do exactly what we've done in the past year, for the next 2 years, we will achieve full accreditation, right? Well, we'll remain at our accredited status, okay? That means that if we do exactly what we've done in the past 1 year for the next 2 years, we will remain provisionally accredited. But we are not going to stay there. We've already put the things in place to lay the foundation for academic performance. This superintendent came to this district, and this board came to this district with one thing in mind. We agreed that academic performance was built on the foundation of performance. What is that? Safety, trust, competency. You've heard in this meeting tonight that we have safety, we're developing trust, and competency in this district. You cannot expect to have academic performance if you don't have certified teachers in the classroom. We've got 98% of our certified positions filled. We are putting the foundation in place for academic performance. Oh yeah, and by the way, we're showing academic improvement. We need to celebrate the progress that we're making in this district. Now, you'll hear me talk about this in January. Here's a preview. There are people who want to distract us from our progress.
Better know it.
There are people who are literally trying to destroy our district and take the focus off of the good work that is happening in our district. They want to keep us in this confused state. Beware, those are distractors. We can't celebrate the good if we got people constantly nipping at our heels. Don't be tricked. You can have a healthy dissatisfaction, but whose team are you on?
Okay.
Critically, do a critical analysis about the information that you're getting. Be smart. Be wise. Be a board member. That's all I have to say.
I had one quick comment.
Amen.
Sorry, we're moving on with the agenda. We'll hear it in executive session. This is the time we move to the superintendent. Thank you so much.
I am courageous, charismatic, and competent, but I am not following that speech. Thank you.
With that being said, it is 8:12. We will move to adjourn to our executive session. Is there a motion to adjourn to executive session?
So move.
It's been moved. I second it. All those in favor? Oh, we do need to a roll call vote to adjourn to executive session.
The vote on the floor is to adjourn to executive session. Director Dr. Petty,
Yes.
Director Pearson,
Yes, ma'am.
Secretary Taylor,
Yes.
Vice President Humphrey,
Yes.
President Hodge.
Yes,
The yes has it. Thank you.
we will adjourn to closed session. Thank you all for